one more, now that we're in the follow-up questions. When you write characters, do you ever do in your head a cast that, even though it's not realistic, but you custom tailor that character to, let's say, Jack Nicholson or Sharon Stone, even, you know, even way before it comes to that point?
I try for it not to happen. Interestingly, with Basic, Michael was a part of my thoughts as I was writing it, right? But I had no idea that he was going to be cast. He was cast very quickly, and I didn't really know that they were casting him. It rarely happens. As I said, the best indication of how much I know about this stuff was my insistence on putting Willie Nelson into Basic Instinct. You know, it's not my forte. It is, however, exactly the forte of producers like Andy, because so much depends on casting. You know, and the truth is that I like to pull myself out of that process.
Your work is helped by developing characters if you see certain actors for that specific role without any realistic possibility of casting that actor.
I don't like to do that. What I did occasionally in the beginning, when I started many years ago, on secondary characters, I had some friends in the police department, and I went down and picked out mugshots, right, for secondary characters, and sometimes I put the mugshots up on the wall, and they helped me physically sometimes, you know, but I really try in terms of the main characters not to have big stars or people attached to it as I write it.
Okay, I think we have a question here somewhere. Okay.
You're the Russian lady.
Yes, I'm Russian.
Okay.
My question, how did you decide to become a screenwriter? Just what came to your mind that, oh, I want to be a screenwriter? I mean, like script writer.
How did I become a screenwriter? I'd written a book in 1975, published by Random House, called Charlie Simpson's Apocalypse, that was one of 4 National Book Award nominees, right? It didn't win, but it was nominated. There were only 4 nominees. And a woman at United Artists named Marcia Nassiter read the book, read all 4 of the nominees, and called me. And I was at Rolling Stone magazine and said, "Have you ever thought of writing scripts?" And I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, I read this book, and it really, I think it's really cinematic. And we don't want to do this book, but we'd like to talk to you. Can you come down and talk to us?" And then I said, first I said, "No, I don't have the money to go down and talk to you to LA." And she said, "We'll send you the money, we'll take care of everything, we'll get you a hotel." And I said, "Okay." So I went down, and I had a meeting with her, and she was very enamored of the book, and she said, "Do you have any ideas that you might do as a movie?" And I said, "Well, let me think about it," you know, and I didn't have any right there, but I liked her. And I went back and thought about it, and I wrote her a very brief note about doing a movie about this truckers union and the battles that these old-time labor people had fought in the 30s and 40s. And I actually had the acronym, the title, and as I described in the letter, what it was to be FIST, right? And she called back and she said, "We love this, come down here again," you know. And then they made the deal with me, which was a very small deal, and it worked in steps, you know, first research and then this treatment that wasn't a treatment, and then a script after that. I enjoyed the experience, and as I said to you before, I was really blessed by Norman Jewison, and I learned a lot from him. Not only was he a generous, good commercial director, but he was also a very feisty, flinty man who fought for what he believed in. I'll never forget, I stayed at his house in Malibu, and we'd have our script meetings outside on the beach, and we went out to the beach, and Norman's standing there looking at the ocean with me, right? Staring out, and he suddenly turns back toward Beverly Hills. And he said, "You see that?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You know why I live out here in Malibu?" I said, "No." He He says, because I don't have to see those motherfuckers back there. That was part of my Hollywood education, you know, but I'll never forget the words, and I worked with that kind of a man. You know.
So it means you don't have professional education.
I'm sorry?
Like you don't have professional education in script writing.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
You don't have any professional schooling in screenwriting.
No, I don't. My schooling was in journalism and English at Ohio University. I had a really terrific time at Ohio U. I was the editor of the college paper, and then I won this award at the White House. And OU was known as the biggest party school in the country at that point, and I just had a lot of general fun, you know. But I didn't have any specific training.
What do you think is the biggest part of your success? Luck, hard work, or meeting the right people in the right time?
I think the biggest part of it is I worked very hard in my books and in my magazine journalism, and I always had the hope. I never thought that it would be screenwriting. You know, I wanted to write a book. So this book for Random House that was up for the National Book Award was first a magazine piece at Rolling Stone. And an editor at Random House saw it, loved it, and said, let's make a book. So we made a book, and then it was one of the nominees, and an editor at United Artists said, have you thought about doing movies? And I always had faith that that could happen. You know, my dad would say to me, we came into Ohio, into Cleveland, just the three of us as refugees. And he always said to me, you know, this is the only country in the world, he said, where you don't need connections and you don't need to know people. And you, a poor kid from Cleveland, if you really stick to your work, you can get somewhere. He was right. You know, I had no connections. I had no, you know, I mean, I had no people in high places, but I did my work, and almost every step, someone noticed it, and there was an escalation up a ladder. And it's one of the reasons I truly love America for that reason.
Azt a kérdést tenném fel, hogy vannak olyan rendezők, forgatókönyvírók Amerikában, akik kicsit hasonlítanak az európai filmek, szerzőibb filmeket, úgynevezett szerzőibb filmeket készítenek, mint a Coen testvérek, vagy a David Lynch, vagy a Jarmusch, vagy a David Mamet. Kíváncsi vagyok, hogy hatnak-e ezek önökre, vagy önre, és hogy egyáltalán ezekről mi a véleménye?
Can you translate for me?
Yeah, art movies in America, like the Coen brothers, etc.
Right.
How does that influence you, or what do you think about it? Let me ask the first part of that. The Coen brothers don't make art movies; they make movies for an audience.
That's right.
And if they don't get an audience, they're really upset. So it's not art movies as
De más
such.
struktúra alapján építkeznek.
They're built on a different structure. I don't think so, but that's
Well, the Coen brothers movies, many of them have made a gigantic box office and gigantic commercial success, as well as a critical success, of course. But I don't consider them art house directors either. You know, they are very, very smart and very talented at making audience accessible films, right? And I think they do that. The Coen brothers in particular do it in a very interesting, original way with most of the things that they've done.
Csak én mondtam a David Lynchet és meg a Jarmuscht, meg a Mamettet. Szóval
David Lynch is probably one of the most successful commercial directors in America. So I would say he's not an art house director at all. He has his own style, he has his own vision, but boy, is he a good storyteller. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He's very original. He really goes off to the side. He's right there on the edge. But once again, he works with a big frame, you know. I mean, and he's mostly successful at it. I respect his daring a lot, you know, because he goes right to the edge. There.
I got a question for both of you about the relation between characters and product placement. Whose responsibility is thinking of product placement, and in which production phase do you have to think of about the product placement?
Well, I think it's the producer's responsibility, and it comes way after the fact. After the film has been finished, not finished, but finished casting, the screenplays are all done, you're ready to start production within some reasonable short period of time, and you're stuck because you don't have enough money to make the movie. So you try and prostitute it where you can a little bit, or you try and make it better by getting some things into that film.
And sometimes you have to get back to the character and say, yes, Michael should drink whiskey.
No, the director needs to be part of that process. I mean, I don't think anybody felt bad about, I don't know whether you liked or you didn't like Jurassic Park. I think it was a pretty good movie. Yeah. I don't think the Mercedes bothered anybody. Well, it could have been a Jaguar, it could have been a Mercedes on the tree. That launched a new car. It was a very important product placement in that movie. Or United Artists, when they do a Bond movie, you know, if they're using that Maserati or they use that BMW that came to and fro without a driver in it, I think it was a great piece of product placement that the movie got a lot of money, but not only that, but the product got an incredible amount of attention. So sometimes when it works, when it gels, it feels natural. It doesn't feel like you're looking at a movie and all you're seeing is Pepsi here and a chewing gum there and whatever here. That's wrong. That's not the way it should be done. It should be done invisible.
Sometimes you just have to say Bulgari, Bulgari, you know, and you can keep going, you know. So,
thank you.
Over there.
Over there.
No? You got a question? Maybe?
Ah.
Okay.
I think we should veer back to characters a little bit, because this session is about characters and structure, as far as I know. Your stories are very much character-driven, and you strive for complexity of character, as you said. They need to be ambiguous, complex. Do you use any, not system, not paradigm, but how do you, when you build your characters, do you use any system or anything that helps you? I mean, psychology, some personality types, or anything that would help you create that complexity that your characters do have?
I like to think that my whole life experience goes into creating the characters, that I write. That they're not directly based on people that I've met, but certainly the sort of the zeitgeist of the character comes from people and situations and events that I've been exposed to. One of the things that really helped me learn about American life, because after all, I didn't speak the language when I came in. A lot of people who didn't like showgirls pointed out that English was my second language, but what I didn't know about this country, and journalism forced me to go out into American society and confront people and situations. And in retrospect, that was a really great help. I was shy to boot, and that sort of forced me out of my shell. And I not only became more American, but I began to see insights into American life. I also got very involved in certain things in American society. I was very involved in the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement, and made a lot of friends on different strata of society. I started covering politics and learned about politicians. I had a police chief who was a good friend of mine, and a black mayor that I wrote speeches for. He was the first black mayor in the country. So all of that experience, comes together. I was a police reporter for years, and my office was actually in the police building itself. So I think that all of that combined into knowing enough about the American world and American society and different people in it for me to be able to write some of those people. I would advise any screenwriter, who's interested in screenwriting or writing fiction, to do some journalistic work for a while, because it as an educational experience. You know, Hemingway had this thing saying this thing. He said, well, journalism is really good as long as you don't stay too long in it, because that's going to hurt your writing. That's true. But the experience itself, I think, could be very beneficial for someone who wants to write fiction.
Minden nap ír, vagy csak amikor megrendelés van?
Majdnem minden nap, almost every day. I try to write a certain number of hours. There are gaps, you know, there are gaps that have to do with other parts of my life, you know, or you know, family issues. But I try to do it every day. I find that the discipline of doing it every day.
Megszabott mennyiséget, vagy pedig csak odaül a géphez?
I try not to put a word limit or a page thing on myself to do every day. I just try to do some kind of writing every day just to do it, you know. For me, once again, that works best. There are a lot of writers who, you know, who finish and decide not to do something for some time. And there are many novelists, you know, who finish one, and of course it takes 3-4 years, and takes 6 months or 9 months off, and don't do anything. But I think, you know, the screenwriting doesn't burn you out as much as no matter what happens, if you get into a real bad piss fight, and you would wind up hurting your heart, it doesn't burn you out as badly as the novelist who works for 4 years with the same characters, you know, the same story, and mulls it all the time. That's very intense, lengthy work. I have a great deal of respect for those novelists who do it well.
Kérdés, hogy van-e kérdés a másik teremből, amíg itt halljuk a kérdéseket?
Egyelőre nincs kérdés innen a másik teremben.
Szóval az én kérdésem annyi lenne, hogy az elemi ösztönről kapcsolatban elég érdekes karakterek voltak benne, meg jelen volt a drog, az alkohol, a cigaretta és ezek. Bizonyára önnek kialakult egy kép a fejében, amikor megírta a forgatókönyvet. Amikor elindult a forgatás, utána tudott még segíteni a színészeknek esetleg, hogy úgy formálják meg a szerepet, ahogy ön elképzelte, vagy onnantól kezdve már alakult minden magától?
Andy, that was too complicated.
Did you help during the shooting of Basic Instinct? Did you help the characters become more true to life, because there was a lot of drug, sex, and rock and roll? So, were you?
You think I'm an expert on those things? Is that why the question is not?
Naomi, is he? PhD in it. All right.
Thank you.
So the question was, did you help with the cast to do the right thing where it came to those particular things?
Well, I was banned from the set. Let's start there. Okay, we had such a bad fight. Then we had another bad fight, so that I was politely asked not to be on the set. And I literally didn't see the movie until the first day it came out in the theaters, when my son loved that scene so much that I didn't write. Right, so the whole experience was odd, but combined with that oddity was a really terrific hit movie. You know, so, and in terms of, had I been there, you know, would I have helped the characters with their sexuality and their smoking and all of that stuff? I would have done my best. I really would.